AITA for refusing to close our open relationship after my wife realized I'm more successful at dating than she is. She wanted this arrangement, and now that I'm happy with someone else, she's calling it cheating even though we have rules. I, 36M, have been married to Elena, 35F, for 8 years. We have one child together, Lucas, 6M. 2 years ago, Elena brought up the idea of opening our marriage. She wanted to explore her sexuality. She wanted to experience dating. She wanted to know what it felt like to be with other people without the pressure of marriage and commitment. I wasn't thrilled about the idea, but I loved her, and if this is what she needed, I was willing to try. We spent months establishing rules. We created a detailed framework for our open marriage. The rules were, both partners had to agree to any person before anything physical happened. No unprotected sex with outside partners. No emotional attachment that threatened the primary relationship. Honesty and transparency were mandatory. Either partner could call a hard stop to the arrangement at any time with 2 weeks' notice. We checked in with each other monthly to discuss how things were going. We set boundaries around our child. Nothing could happen in the house or when Lucas was around. Any outside relationships had to remain completely separate from our family life. We also agreed to keep this private. We told no one. Our families didn't know. Our friends didn't know. It was just us dealing with it privately. The first year of the open marriage was relatively balanced. Elena had a few partners. Nothing serious. Just casual dating. She enjoyed exploring her sexuality and having experiences she felt she'd missed out on by marrying young. I didn't pursue anyone for the first several months. I was hesitant about the whole thing. But eventually, I started dating as well. I had a few casual encounters. Nothing that developed into anything more than physical attraction. Then about a year into the arrangement, I met Mia, 34F, at a work conference. Mia was intelligent, funny, and genuinely easy to talk to. We had actual chemistry, both physical and intellectual. We started texting after the conference. We went out for dinner. We slept together, but it was different from the other casual encounters. We actually enjoyed spending time together. We talked for hours. We laughed together. We had real conversations about life, goals, dreams, and fears. This violated our emotional attachment rule. I knew it as it started developing early on. I should have stopped it, but I didn't want to. Instead, I did something I'm not proud of. I rationalized it. I told myself that the emotional connection didn't threaten my marriage to Elena because it was separate. I told myself that I was still committed to Elena and Lucas. I told myself that Mia was a compartment of my life that didn't intersect with my marriage. But that was a lie. After 3 months of seeing Mia, I should have told Elena about the emotional component. We had a monthly check-in, and I should have been honest about the fact that my relationship with Mia had developed beyond physical attraction. I didn't tell her. Instead, I continued seeing Mia. I made up stories about work conferences to give me time to see her. I told Mia that I was separated, trying to figure out the details of custody arrangements, and that I wasn't ready to introduce her to my son yet. Mia believed me. She was patient. She understood. She was willing to wait for me to get my situation sorted out. Meanwhile, Elena was having the opposite experience. She'd dated several people over the course of 2 years, but nothing had developed. She'd had a few physical connections, but the emotional attachments never materialized. The men she dated weren't interested in anything beyond casual sex. They weren't interested in getting to know her. They weren't interested in spending time with her outside the bedroom. Elena started feeling rejected. She started questioning whether she was attractive enough, interesting enough, worth pursuing as more than just a sexual object. She started comparing her dating experiences to her understanding of what I was doing. This is where things get complicated because Elena started checking my phone. I don't know when it started. Maybe she'd been doing it for weeks or months before I found out. But eventually, I noticed her looking at my phone when I wasn't paying attention. I didn't confront her about it immediately. Part of me was relieved that the secret was about to come out because I was tired of lying. One evening, after I'd put Lucas to bed, Elena confronted me with my phone in her hand. She'd read through my text messages with Mia. She'd pieced together the timeline. She understood that I wasn't just having casual sex with Mia. I was actually having a relationship with her. I was emotionally invested. I was lying about my availability. I was building something that looked an awful lot like cheating. Elena was devastated. She wasn't angry at first. She was hurt. She felt betrayed. She wanted to know why I hadn't told her about the emotional component. She wanted to know how long I'd been lying. She wanted to know if I still loved her or if I was replacing her with Mia. I tried to explain that Mia didn't threaten my marriage, that I still loved Elena, that this was something separate and compartmentalized. Elena wasn't buying it. She asked me how I'd feel if she had been doing what I was doing, if she'd been lying about being just casual with someone, if she developed real feelings for another man, if she'd been spinning stories to explain her absence, if she'd been building something that resembled a secondary relationship. The question made me uncomfortable because the answer was obvious. I would hate it. I would see it as betrayal. I would see it as a violation of the boundaries we'd set up together. Elena said those exact words. "You'd call this cheating if I was doing it." She was right. I was cheating. Not technically under the original agreement. Mia and I hadn't engaged in sexual activity in violation of our rules, but ethically, emotionally, spiritually. I was cheating because I'd hidden an emotional connection for my spouse. I'd lied about my availability. I'd built a secondary relationship that I was treating as more important than my marriage. Elena gave me an ultimatum. She wanted the open marriage closed immediately. She wanted me to end things with Mia. She wanted us to go to couples therapy. She wanted to rebuild our marriage. I refused. I told Elena that I'd committed to Mia. That Mia didn't deserve to be discarded just because things were getting messy in my marriage. That I wasn't willing to end something real just to make Elena feel better about her failed dating experiences. Elena was shocked. She asked me if I was choosing Mia over our marriage. I said that I wasn't choosing anyone over anyone else. I was just refusing to be told I had to end a relationship that made me happy. Elena reminded me that she'd originally proposed the open marriage as something to explore her sexuality and expand our relationship, not as something that would lead to one of us building a parallel relationship with someone else. I countered that the rules had been clear. As long as both parties agreed to the arrangement, we were allowed to pursue other people. Mia had been approved by Elena through text consent before anything happened, which technically met our rules, even though I hadn't mentioned the emotional development. This is where Elena's behavior started shifting. She went from hurt to angry. She said that I was weaponizing the rules of the open marriage against her. She said that I was using the literal interpretation of our agreement to justify something that violated the spirit of what we'd agreed to. She said, when I suggested an open marriage, I was thinking we'd both be exploring casual relationships. I wasn't thinking that one of us would fall in love with someone else and start treating them like a second wife. I told her that I wasn't in love with Mia. I said that I enjoyed her company and I found her attractive and we had good chemistry, but that wasn't love. Elena didn't believe me. She pointed out that I'd spent the last 6 months lying about my whereabouts to spend time with Mia, that I'd created an entire false narrative about being separated, that I'd invested emotional energy into building a relationship with someone else. Those were the actions of someone in love, regardless of what I was claiming. I didn't have a good response because she was right. Over the next few weeks, Elena's anger intensified. She started documenting my absences. She tracked my phone. She found evidence of my lies. She compiled a file of information that could be used against me in a custody battle if things escalated to that point. She also called my parents. She didn't tell them about Mia directly, but she told them that things weren't good in our marriage and that I was not being honest about my commitments. She told them that I was prioritizing another relationship over my family. My parents were shocked. They'd always thought Elena and I had a solid marriage. They asked me what was going on. I didn't want to explain the open marriage situation because I knew how they'd react, but I also couldn't lie to them. So I told them about the open marriage. I explained that Elena had wanted to open the relationship. I explained that we'd set up rules and agreements. I explained that I was seeing someone and that Elena was upset about it because she felt jealous that my dating had been more successful than hers. My parents were horrified. They couldn't understand why I would agree to an open marriage in the first place. They said that marriages should be between two people who are committed to each other and only each other. They said that my arrangement with Elena was essentially socially acceptable cheating. I tried to defend it by explaining that Elena had initiated this and that we both agreed to it. My parents said that just because Elena wanted an open marriage didn't mean it was healthy or something I should have agreed to. The conversation was painful. My parents made it clear that they thought I was making a mistake. They thought I was throwing away my marriage for someone else. They thought I was prioritizing short-term pleasure over long-term commitment to my family. After that conversation, my relationship with my parents became strained. They kept bringing it up. They kept implying that I was being unfaithful. They kept suggesting that I was basically cheating, even though we had an agreement in place. This planted doubt in my mind. If my parents thought what I was doing was wrong, and if Elena thought what I was doing was wrong, maybe I was wrong. But then I thought about it logically. I had followed the rules that Elena and I had established together. I'd gotten her consent before pursuing Mia. I'd been transparent about my involvement with Mia, though I hadn't mentioned the emotional component until she discovered it. I wasn't violating any of the original agreements. Yes, the emotional attachment was something I should have disclosed immediately. Yes, I should have been more honest about the depth of my feelings for Mia. But I wasn't cheating. I was operating within the boundaries of an agreement we'd both signed onto. So I told Elena that I wasn't willing to end things with Mia. I told her that if she wanted to close the open marriage, she had to give me the 2-week notice we'd agreed to. I told her that trying to force me to comply immediately was a violation of our arrangement. Elena was furious. She said that rules didn't matter when someone was being emotionally unfaithful. She said that I was twisting the meaning of our agreement to justify something that was fundamentally wrong. The situation escalated from there. Elena moved into the guest room. She stopped talking to me except when necessary to coordinate childcare. She was clearly preparing for a potential divorce. I panicked. I didn't want to lose my marriage. I didn't want to lose my son. But I also didn't want to lose Mia. I tried to have Mia take a back seat while I focused on repairing things with Elena. But Mia wasn't willing to do that. She said that I'd told her I was separating from my wife. She said that I'd told her my marriage was over. She said that I'd made commitments to her, and she wasn't going to be pushed aside. Mia started calling me more frequently. She started texting me more. She started demanding more of my time and attention. She said that I owed it to her after everything I'd told her and promised her. This is when I realized that Mia and I weren't in a healthy relationship. Our entire connection was built on lies. Mia thought she was dating someone who was getting divorced. I was stringing her along with false promises about a future that didn't exist. And I was doing this while trying to maintain my marriage. I ended things with Mia. Mia didn't take it well. She accused me of using her. She said that I'd lied to her about my situation. She demanded that I explain why I was abandoning her. I told her the truth, that I was married, that my marriage was struggling, and that I couldn't continue pursuing another relationship while trying to fix things at home. Mia was devastated. She felt betrayed. She had believed that we were building something real together. And in some ways, we had been. But it was built on a foundation of deception, which meant that nothing about it was real. After I ended things with Mia, I tried to rebuild my marriage. Elena was willing to give it a shot because I'd cut off contact with Mia. But things weren't the same. Trust had been broken. Elena felt betrayed by my emotional involvement with Mia. I felt hurt that Elena had been checking my phone and monitoring my activities. We went to couples therapy. Our therapist helped us understand what had gone wrong. The core issue was that I had violated the emotional boundaries of our open marriage. Even though I technically hadn't violated the written rules, I'd violated the spirit of the agreement by building a secondary relationship that felt primary to me. Our therapist helped us understand that open marriages can work, but only with complete transparency and honesty. Any deviation from that, any secret emotional connections or hidden feelings, becomes a form of cheating. I had cheated, not technically, but ethically. Over the course of several months of therapy, Elena and I were able to repair some of the damage. But our relationship was fundamentally changed. We're still married. We're still parenting Lucas together. But the trust between us is fragile, and the open marriage is closed. I don't regret having met Mia. I don't regret having pursued the open marriage when Elena wanted it. But I deeply regret lying about my emotional connection to Mia. I deeply regret building a secondary relationship without Elena's knowledge or consent. I deeply regret choosing my own happiness over my wife's well-being and my marriage. Update 1. 3 months later, marriage counseling continues. Our therapist has been instrumental in helping Elena and me understand each other's perspectives. We've worked through the immediate betrayal, but we're now dealing with the deeper issues that made us want an open marriage in the first place. Elena admits that she pursued the open marriage because she felt invisible in our relationship. She felt like I took her for granted. She felt like I wasn't paying attention to her needs. By opening the marriage, she hoped I would realize what I had, that by seeing her with other people, I would appreciate her more. That by experiencing the threat of losing her, I would fight for her. It didn't work that way. Instead, when I found someone else, it felt like confirmation to Elena that I didn't need her the way she needed me. I admit that I was emotionally neglectful before the open marriage. I was comfortable. I thought that comfort was enough. I didn't realize that Elena needed excitement, attention, and consistent emotional presence. When Mia came into my life, she provided all those things. She made me feel alive. She made me feel desired. She made me feel special. And I craved that so intensely that I was willing to hide it from my wife. Our therapist pointed out that the open marriage didn't fail because of its structure. It failed because we weren't actually dealing with the underlying issues in our marriage. We were just adding complexity on top of dysfunction. We decided to close the open marriage permanently, not as a punishment, but as a choice to focus on rebuilding our marriage from the ground up. Elena has also agreed to go to individual therapy to work through her feelings of being invisible and undesired. She's been working on understanding why she pursued the open marriage and what she actually needed from me that wasn't being provided. I've also committed to therapy. I'm working on understanding my patterns of behavior, my tendency to chase novelty and excitement, and my capacity to rationalize dishonest behavior when I'm getting what I want. Update 2. 6 months later, the marriage is stronger now, but it's different than before. We've had to rebuild from scratch. One of the biggest changes is that we're actually communicating. We talk about our needs, our fears, our insecurities. We have hard conversations about what went wrong and what we need to do differently going forward. Elena has become more vocal about her needs. She no longer expects me to read her mind or understand her without explicit communication. When she needs attention, she tells me. When she feels neglected, she tells me. When she's unhappy, she tells me instead of suffering in silence. I become more present. I make deliberate choices to prioritize my marriage and my family. I turn off my phone during dinner. I make time for Elena that isn't scheduled around other commitments. I actively listen to her instead of waiting for my turn to talk. We're also being more intentional about our physical intimacy. We're scheduling time together. We're creating space for romance and connection. We're remembering why we fell in love in the first place. It's not perfect. There are still moments where the betrayal surfaces. There are still times when Elena feels insecure about whether I'm truly committed to her. There are still moments when I feel resentful about having to give up my freedom. But we're working through these things together instead of running toward someone else to fill the void. I haven't heard from Mia since I ended things with her. I wonder sometimes how she's doing. I hope she's found someone who can be fully honest with her. I hope she's found someone who doesn't have a wife and child at home. I hope she's found genuine love instead of the complicated mess she got with me. Update 3. 1 year later, it's been a year since I ended things with Mia and recommitted to my marriage with Elena. Our marriage is in a much better place now. We still go to couples therapy monthly. We still have challenging moments. But we've built a foundation of trust and honesty that didn't exist before. Elena is happier than she's been in years. She feels seen and appreciated. She feels like a priority instead of an afterthought. She started taking yoga classes and has reconnected with friends she lost touch with. She's investing in her own life and interests, which makes her happier and more fulfilled as a person. I've stopped seeking external validation. I've stopped needing someone else to make me feel special and desired. I've learned that excitement and novelty aren't the same thing as love. I've learned that real love is built on consistency, honesty, and commitment, not on the thrill of something new. Lucas has benefited from our recommitment to our marriage. He has both parents present and engaged. He doesn't have the stress of his parents preparing for a potential divorce. He has a stable home environment. Looking back on the entire situation, I can clearly see where I went wrong. The open marriage itself wasn't the problem. The problem was that I used it as an escape from dealing with real issues in my marriage. The problem was that I lied to Elena about the emotional component of my relationship with Mia. The problem was that I prioritized my own desires over my wife's well-being and my marriage. I violated the spirit of our agreement, even if I technically followed the rules. I emotionally cheated on my wife. I betrayed her trust. I made choices that nearly destroyed my marriage and my family. If I could go back, I would have been honest with Elena about my feelings for Mia from the moment they developed. I would have had a conversation about what the emotional attachment meant for our open marriage and our relationship. I would have given Elena the choice to close the marriage immediately rather than continuing to hide what was happening. The hard truth is that the open marriage revealed fundamental issues in my marriage that probably would have destroyed us eventually anyway. The open marriage didn't cause the problem, it just exposed it. And by lying about what was happening, I almost made the problem irreversible. Final update. 2 years later. 2 years have passed since I ended things with Mia. Elena and I are in a genuinely strong place. We've done the work required to rebuild trust and intimacy. We're actively present in each other's lives. We're partners again, not just co-parents. We've decided to take a complete break from any form of non-monogamy or open arrangement. We're focusing on being fully committed to each other and only each other. This doesn't mean we don't struggle sometimes. We still have moments where old hurts surface. We still have moments where Elena wonders if I'm fully present or if I'm still thinking about what else is out there. We still have moments where I feel like I'm missing out on excitement and spontaneity. But we talk about these moments instead of acting on them. We work through them together instead of running towards someone else. I've learned that what I thought was love for Mia was really just the excitement of something new and forbidden. It was the thrill of deception. It was the novelty of pursuing someone who treated me as though I was the center of her universe, even though I was lying about my situation. Real love, the kind I have with Elena, is quieter. It's built on years of shared experience. It's built on knowing someone fully and being known completely. It's built on trust, vulnerability, and commitment. When I look back on the entire situation, I recognize that I was selfish. I wanted to have my wife and my girlfriend. I wanted the stability of marriage and the excitement of a new relationship. I wanted all the benefits of both without any of the honest communication or difficult choices that genuine polyamory or ethical non-monogamy requires. I was a fraud. I was using the structure of an open marriage to justify behavior that was fundamentally dishonest and selfish. Would I change things if I could? Absolutely. But I can't. All I can do is acknowledge what happened, take responsibility for my choices, and work on being a better partner and a better person going forward. Elena has been remarkable in her willingness to work through this. She could have left me. She had every right to end our marriage. But she chose to stay and fight for what we built together. I spend every day appreciating that choice and working to be worthy of the second chance she gave me.